Italy in political disarray. Snap elections are due to take place near the end of September. President Sergio Mattarella has dissolved parliament following Prime Minister Mario Draghi's resignation over the collapse of his national unity government.
Lo scioglimento anticipato del Parlamento è sempre l'ultima scelta da compiere, particolarmente se, come in questo periodo, davanti alle Camere vi sono molti importanti adempimenti da portare a compimento nell'interesse del nostro Paese. Ma la situazione politica che si è determinata ha condotto a questa decisione.
Current polls put Ms Giorgia Meloni's far-right Brothers of Italy party in the lead. Her party had repeatedly called for early elections. Mr Draghi was brought in last year to pull the country out of its economic troubles. But he failed to unite the fractious parties. The final straw came after three key parties refused to take part in a confidence vote earlier this week. And Seema Gupta joins us live from Rome. Seema, Mr Draghi, popular internationally and even more at home. In fact, polls last week showed Italians overwhelmingly wanting Mr Draghi to stay on just as Italy faces even more crises. What could have happened?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, he was seen as a safe pair of hands, and those polls showed that Italians supported him as well as international leaders. But essentially, he did not have the support within the parties of his coalition. He lost in terms of his support, and that was because of political infighting. Those three key coalition parties choosing instead to boycott that vote of confidence. They essentially just didn't take part. Now, if you look at it, it's the populist parties and the right-wing parties. Now, the populist five-star movement, it's run essentially, its leader is Giuseppe Conte, the previous prime minister whom Mario Draghi took over from. And essentially, they felt that their priorities wasn't being given enough serious attention. Ideas such as a basic income or a minimum salary among them. And so they felt they could not support the government any longer. And then you have the Forza Italia, which is the party run by former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, and the other far-right party, the League Party, run by Matteo Salvini. Those two parties said, look, we're happy to support Mario Draghi, but we want a government shake-up and we don't want the five-star movement involved. Now, Mr. Draghi said, look, I got this mandate to run this unity government, this government of national coalition. I'm an unelected technocrat and I want to lead this unity government. So he appealed for unity, but essentially these parties felt they didn't want to be part of it any longer. So even though he technically won that confidence vote, it was without their support. And so his feeling was he could no longer continue. Some observers say perhaps Mr. Draghi wasn't enough of a politician. He was uncompromising in his ideas, and he was frustrated with the fact that these coalition negotiations, particularly on the reforms that need to be carried out here in Italy, weren't being carried out seriously. And in that frustration, in the end, he felt he could no longer continue. He didn't have the mandate, and therefore he tendered his resignation. Now, since then, there have been defections within a lot of these parties. People have left and they're frustrated. And we'll have to see whether that will have any impact on the ballot box, because people may also be angry that they didn't allow Mr. Draghi to continue, and they may decide that in their voting process.
Speaking of that ballot box, the far-right Brothers of Italy party, now they are leading in polls right now. Assuming they can, unlike Mr. Draghi, manage these very difficult domestic, the mess within parties, do they have the skills that Mr. Draghi had to bring Italy out of its economic troubles?
Well, that really remains to be seen. One has to look at this party. Now, the Brothers of Italy, it's a far-right party. It's a party that has its origins in neo-fascist movements. The leader of the party, 45-year-old Giorgia Meloni, she's a conservative with very nationalistic ideas. She's very tough on immigration, against gay marriage, supporting the idea of tax cuts. But if you look at 2018, the last election, it only got about 4% of the vote. And really, now they're the biggest party in terms of the percentage, something about 22 to 24%. And that's because essentially they benefited from the fact that they were the only real party in opposition compared to this national unity coalition that was in power for all these months under Mario Draghi. And so they have not enough in form a government, but they have enough to create an alliance with other right-wing parties. We'll have to see, though. It's going to be a tough election campaign, the first time in the autumn months and over this hot summer. And we'll have to see. Opinion polls can change.
And we shall see. That was Seema Gupta. Thanks so much speaking to us there from Rome.